Alright, today we're going to be making the modification to the Crown Victoria to add a HydraMat to our fuel tank to maybe stop fuel starvation going around corners. So this is offset to one way so we can hopefully get it far enough in the tank, but we're going to start by just taking everything out. This is going to be the whole assembly. We'll save that box later for the cat to play with, but here we have the Holley 16111, and this will snap right to the stock fuel pump is the idea. So this is the full assembly for a Crown Victoria. That doesn't work. All right, I'm gonna unpack this thing and then I'll see you in a second. All right, we're gonna cut the insulation off this guy here. We'll unpack this thing, and basically the strainer is gonna come off and we will replace it with the HydraMat. All right, let's grab something sharp. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's see, you'll be able to do a cut in action. One sec. All right, now with the fuel pump all unwrapped, we need to unscrew this screw here because we need to get onto the filter. And that is locked in underneath all this business. So we're going to go ahead and expose that by unscrewing that. Being careful not to... just being careful. Phillips head screwdriver. Nailed it. All right, now we've got the fuel pump loose, and it's sort of slotted into this metal bracket on the bottom. So we just need to kind of just lift it up, and so we can access the strainer. See if I can do this one-handed. That's how you do it. This is just flexible. It's on a hose, so you'll be okay. All right, now we need to disconnect the strainer at the bottom and connect the new Holley HydraMat. All right, we're here with the fuel pump, and I cut off the rubber isolator boot. And we are now looking at the bottom of the fuel pump. We need to separate this piece of plastic from the piece of metal. So I'm going to grab a flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to push on this tab. I believe that is a locking tab, and we'll find out what happens. Are you ready? So you're going to take your screwdriver and take your flathead. We're going to take it and pry in here and try and separate this from the body. I believe that is a post, and that should be the inlet. Let's see what happens. All right, we are going to take off the filter here from the underside of the fuel pump. This will be our post, and this is going to be our inlet for the fuel filter. Now, we got to decide which way we want to orient our filter, our HydraMat, because it's offset so that we can get maximum pickup. So let's look at that now. All right, we're trying to remember which way to get the HydraMat installed. We see it's offset to one side, right now the left side being longer than the right side. And we can put this in different positions all the way around. What you want to make sure you do is take off the cap out of the inside of the HydraMat. Now, this is how it's going to be installed in the car. This is going to be the forward direction, and this is the backward direction. Going forward, what's happening, so we're driving forward, and this is in this direction. This gets mounted on the front of the tank. Doing right-hand turns, all the fuel is sloshing to the left of the tank, and we are fuel starving. So we need this to have the long side on this left side of the fuel pump. So we will have the fuel hat in front of the fuel pump, and you'll have the long side facing this way. This is how it mounts in the car, so that the long side is on the left of the vehicle. That is driver's side in America, the correct side. And so we're gonna have that's how we're gonna install it. Let's see how close we can get that to being straight in that direction. If we could get it perfectly even, that would be ideal. So you can even maybe, when we mount this fuel pump, we can kind of give it a little bit of a rotation and see if we can get this lined up pretty much evenly when we do that. All right, I'm gonna get that. Basically, you just push it right onto the bottom. That metal post goes right into that little stainless steel lock, and you're done. I'm going to put this plastic washer on the bottom and then slide this guy in here so that it holds it into the fuel pump forever, okay? That's our plan. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing clamped on the bottom of the fuel pump. All right, so make sure that you have that thing fully seated. See, mine is almost there. I'm going to work a little bit, making sure that's all the way seated. Making sure also that this side is also fully seated. We're looking good, and then we can start putting this thing back together. As I'm running into an issue where the Holley HydraMat sticks out past the fuel pump and is hitting this bracket. So I'm actually going to clock the fuel pump so that we can move the inlet away from the back bracket, and then I will reclock the Holley HydraMat onto the fuel pump. So I would suggest you probably clock this fuel pump so that the inlet is not on the same side as the bracket. And you can basically do that by just holding this bracket, this plastic T right here, and spinning it, and it will, the fuel line will rotate on this plastic barb. So I'm going to rotate this fuel pump a little bit right now and see what I can do about moving the inlet away from that bracket. Okay, update is, this is the wiring is twisting around this barb, so I'm actually going to disconnect this. I'm going to put this all the way on the back side, because if you twist this, it just offsets the pump, and I just want it to be clamped evenly. So I'm going to spin this fully 180 degrees so the inlet is right here, and then make sure you have that plug in, and then everything should clearance fine in here. Just make sure you don't twist all these wires all up too bad. I'm going to disconnect mine by just pushing here and pulling, and that will get that out of there. You get to release it like this, to push on that to release it, and then pull it out. Okay. And I'm just gonna untangle these. These are all wound up. And then I'm actually going to rotate this guy 180 so that the inlet is on this side. I can screw it in straight. Okay, I held this little barb here, and if you just grab the fuel pump, you can just spin it. So I rotated it around so the inlet is on this side of our bracket. Check in like that. Now when we hook up the Holley HydraMat, it will stick out and we won't have a problem with it hitting the bracket. Also, we need to make sure we plug this guy back in. So it's a little tough right there. So make sure you plug it in before you have it all screwed in. All right, I'm gonna do that real quick. All right, we've got the pump turned around. It's plugged in, the wires are not too wrapped up, and we have it in this orientation in the bracket. Let's put the Holley HydraMat on now and get it rocking and rolling. Remembering that this fuel hat is in the front of the car, and this is the rear of the car, and that we turn, hold on, excuse me. Again, front of the car, rear of the car, turning right, sloshing left, long side left. Ready? All right, I use a little screwdriver and I just gently push down right where my finger's touching all the way around it. You can see right there that it's fully seated again, that we're sitting pretty much at a 90-degree angle here, and we're gonna basically get that rubber clamp cut down. This rubber clamp, we gotta cut out this, so use some scissors. I already cut it in half and cut out the bottom. We'll clamp it back on after that. All right, we've got the rubber cut out. We'll slap it around this guy, and I'm gonna leave the seam somewhere on the side, and like that, and then we can clamp this thing back together. Here's our fuel pump, our fuel pump right before we assemble it. Here we go, I got the clamp on there. We're squeezed all the way down. Rubber's around there, let's clamp it down. All right, it's pretty easy to remember because we have the float sensor on this side, and so is the long side of our fuel HydraMat. All right, that's what it's gonna look like all installed. Clamped, rubber isolator isolating. Fuel plug is all the way plugged in. It clicked when I plugged it in. This is easy, barb is to the side. Everything's hooked up, and we are looking pretty. With our HydraMat, we should be able to stop our starvation problems. Okay. 16111, HydraMat installed. Clamps right onto the stock fuel pump. So hey, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing. We've got cool racing content and other cool car build content. And also, if you want to join us at Spec P71 Racing, you can find us online here, racespecp71.com. It's the best Southern California racing opportunity. So join us here. Give me a shout out if you need some help joining. It's a spec racing series. It keeps things cheap, and it's a really good time. So thanks for watching. This has been Dropping Hammers with Sean the American.